possible for me to, a request, if it would be possible for me to read my testimony, and then someone who couldn't be here today asked if I would be able to read her personal testimony as a private citizen.
I do have, you submitted it?
Deanna Howard's testimony.
I do have her testimony, so I'll take it for the record. You can present.
Okay, so just read my own?
Yes, please.
Okay. So good afternoon, Councilmember Bowser, members of the committee and committee staff. What do the Boston, New York City, and Chicago transit systems all have in common with each other, but not with WMATA? They each have policies and public service awareness campaigns in place to address sexual harassment and sexual assault. It is time that Washington, D.C., the second largest transit system in the country, follows suit, especially given the testimonies you have heard today. My name is Kearl, representing Stop Street Harassment, and I'm an international expert on these issues. I wrote the book Stop Street Harassment, Making Public Places Safe and Welcoming for Women, and I've given more than 60 presentations on the topic, including at the New York City Council hearing on street harassment and at a United Nations-sponsored Women's Safety Conference in Delhi, India. And I'm based locally. I commute by bus and Orange Line to my workplace in Ward 2 at the American Association of University Women, and I'm a board member of Collective Action for Safe Spaces. Sexual harassment on transit systems is a global problem. And to be clear, because I know that Metro has been giving, some statements about what they think sexual harassment is and is not. Sexual harassment is not mutual flirting or consensual compliments. That's not what we're talking about. Instead, it includes actions like unwanted sexual comments, excessive leering, sexual touching, public masturbation, and being followed. In recent years, every study conducted on sexual harassment on transit systems, including in New York City, Chicago, Tokyo, Beijing, and Delhi, showed that more than 60% of respondents, mostly women, had these kind of unwanted experiences there. And sexual harassment on transit systems is not new. In 1909, more than 100 years ago, women-only subway cars were proposed for our country's first subway system in the interborough rapid transit system in New York because of the, quote, fearful crushes, quote, sexual insults, end quote, and other types of sexual harassment women riders faced. In the end, they were not instituted. They were instituted, however, in Japan in 1912 for a short time for the same reason. And if you fast forward to the present day, high rates of sexual harassment on public transportation has led many governments to create women-only subway cars and buses, including in Japan, India, Egypt, Brazil, Bangladesh, Mexico, and Pakistan. Is gender segregation the answer? I really don't think so. But it's better than doing nothing. And we in Washington, D.C. need to do much more, and I'm very encouraged to hear from you just now that you agree. Testimony given today, stories submitted to the blog of Collective Action for Safe Spaces and to other D.C. blogs show it is a huge problem, even if we are not doing as much as other cities to document it or to address and prevent it. But why does addressing sexual harassment matter? Is this something people just need to get a tough skin about? No. Sexual harassment and also assault, and even the fear of it, cause most women and some men to restrict their lives in some way, whether it's by not taking the metro alone at night, by getting off at an earlier stop to get away from a harasser, or by going out of their way to wait at a bus stop that is harassment-free. These restrictions make us unequal citizens. And would you want to tell a 12-year-old girl to get a thick skin about a man licking his lips and making sexual comments to her? We may picture targets of sexual harassment as only being adults, which is who we've heard from today. But for my book research, I surveyed more than 800 women from 23 countries, and nearly 1 in 4 said they'd experienced this kind of harassment by age 12, and nearly 90% by age 19. So I want to echo the others in the 3 main recommendations we have. 1, data collection. There should be a multi-agency working group of WMATA and local police collecting data on the prevalence of both sexual harassment and sexual assault. So the numbers are more accurate and more incidences of harassment and assault can be dealt with appropriately. And ideally, to better track these incidences, there will be a new dedicated reporting mechanism just for harassment and assault. 2, the PSA campaign. We would really like to have input and work with WMATA to fund a PSA campaign that makes it clear that sexual harassment and assault is not tolerated and how it can be reported if someone should see it or experience such behavior. As I said, Boston, Chicago, and New York City all have these kinds of PSA campaigns already. And in Appendix A, I provide information about it, and you can see examples. And then 3, training. With the increase of violent crime as reported in the Washington Times on February 19th, and the lack of concern some police and transit workers show when people do report harassers to them, WMATA employees and transit police should receive more training on how to handle complaints of sexual harassment and assault. Whenever I ride other transit systems, I'm always glad to come back to ours because it's so clean and I generally feel safe from other crimes. But WMATA, I feel, does need to do a much better job of addressing sexual harassment and assault so that people can feel safe from these acts too. I look forward to working with you to make this happen. Thank you.